Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into AI. I think it's pretty timely considering the predictions that AI is going to be contributing something like $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. I mean, we're talking about major changes across all kinds of industries, healthcare, agriculture, even like everything, retail. I mean, retail is already being affected by AI in ways that we don't even really notice. So it's a pretty wild world we're heading into, and those numbers are really just the tip of the iceberg. I think we're looking at global AI spending expected to hit $300 billion by 2026, which is just a massive amount of investment. And the crazy thing is that like 3/4 of large enterprises are expected to be relying on AI-infused processes in the next few years. It's not just like a new thing anymore. It's really becoming central to how we work and we live.
Please like and subscribe to the channel.
To make this all a little bit more tangible, what are some specific big examples of how AI is already impacting things in different industries? So let's start with healthcare, for example. You can imagine going to the doctor's office and AI is actually playing a role in diagnosing a disease in its earliest stages, maybe even before you inhabit symptoms. Or think about agriculture. Farmers are using AI to know exactly when to water their crops. So it's really all about optimizing those yields and using water more efficiently. And we talked about retail a little bit before, but I'm still curious, what are some of the ways that it's impacting retail right now that maybe we're not even realizing? Well, I mean, you're browsing online and you see recommendations pop up. Sometimes those recommendations are so spot on, you're like, how did they know I was looking for that? That's AI working behind the scenes, understanding your preferences, understanding your past behavior, and then trying to predict what you might be interested in next. And then there are those virtual agents. You go to a website and a little chat box pops up and you can ask questions and get instant answers. That's AI as well, really streamlining customer service. So it's not just about robots in the future. It's really affecting us right now. So obviously this explosion of AI didn't just happen overnight. So what were some of the key drivers that kind of brought us to this point? It's kind of a perfect storm, really. So first, you've got this incredible explosion of data. We're creating more information now than ever before. And then at the same time, you've got the development of these incredibly powerful GPUs, which is the hardware that can actually process all that data and make sense of it. So it's like, we've got this super brain now that can learn from all this information. So, I mean, what's next? What's on the horizon for AI in 2024 and beyond? Well, it's interesting, actually. One of the big trends is what I call a reality check. I think, there's a lot of hype around AI. And now people are starting to realize that AI is not magic. It's a tool. It has limitations, but that doesn't mean it's not incredibly powerful. So there's a growing awareness of what AI can and cannot do. Another really interesting trend is what's called multimodal AI. So these are AI systems that can understand and process different kinds of data at the same time, like images, text, sound all at once. So it's kind of becoming more like us as humans in a sense, like being able to take in the world through multiple senses, if you will. And then we're also seeing a focus on smaller, more efficient AI models. And this is partly driven by the cost of those powerful GPUs and cloud computing. It's a smaller, more focused AI that's not going to break the bank. Another thing that I think is really interesting is the trend of developing custom local models. So these are AI systems that are tailored for specific businesses. So they're becoming increasingly sophisticated, handling everything from basic customer service inquiries to more complex tasks like scheduling appointments, problem solving, things like that. It's really incredible. So we're seeing all this amazing potential with AI, but I also want to flag some pretty significant challenges when it comes to actually integrating AI into current systems and processes. So what are some of the roadblocks with AI? According to the Global AI Readiness Index from Cisco, only 13% of IT organizations actually have the infrastructure to support AI today. That's a tiny percentage. So even though everybody's talking about AI, most companies aren't even really equipped to handle building AI solutions. It's a huge gap, but companies like us at OnStack are starting to prioritize helping businesses overcome this challenge. Another important statistic from the report shows that 41% of organizations are seeing generative AI as a top priority for their infrastructure spending. Things like writing text, creating images or videos, we're really just scratching the surface of its potential. But I think before we get too deep into those exciting applications, maybe we should take a step back and just make sure we're all on the same page. Like, what exactly is artificial intelligence? How do we define it? I mean, we keep hearing AI everywhere, but what does it actually mean? So at its simplest, AI is basically about making computers think and act like humans. It's about creating programs that can learn and reason and make decisions, even adapt to new situations. It's not just about robots taking over the world. I mean, Hollywood loves that storyline, but AI is much broader than that. Now, you'll hear a lot of terms thrown around alongside AI, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. These are all related, but they're not exactly the same thing. So let's break that down a little bit. So what's the difference between like AI in general and machine learning or ML? Think of AI as the big umbrella, right? And ML is one specific tool under that umbrella. So ML focuses on building systems that can learn from data without being explicitly programmed. So they kind of learn by doing like how we pick up skills through experience. And then you've got deep learning or DL, which takes inspiration from the structure of the human brain to process information. It uses what are called artificial neural networks, which are like intricate webs of interconnected nodes that kind of mimic how our brains work. So DL is modeled after the brain itself. And then there's generative AI. Generative AI or Gen AI uses deep learning to go beyond just analyzing data. It can actually create new content, things like text, images, music, you name it. It's like the artist of the AI world. So if you're following along, we've got AI as the big umbrella, then ML that learns from data, deep learning that mimics the brain, and Gen AI, that's the creative powerhouse. Now, within machine learning itself, there are different types. We have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. What are those? Let's start with supervised learning. So imagine you're trying to train a system to detect fraudulent transactions. So you feed at a massive data set of label transactions where you've already identified which ones are fraudulent. The system learns from these examples, and eventually it can predict whether a new transaction is likely to be fraudulent or not. So it's learning from a set of known examples to make predictions about new data. Now, unsupervised learning is a little bit different. It's more exploratory. So it's like giving the AI a puzzle with no instructions and see what patterns it can find. So let's say you have a huge data set of customer purchase history. You could use unsupervised learning to group customers with similar buying habits, which can be really valuable for things like targeted marketing. So it's about uncovering hidden relationships without any predefined labels. And then finally, you've got reinforcement learning. So this is all about training an AI agent to make decisions in a dynamic environment. So think of it like training a dog. You reward good behavior, you discourage bad behavior, and that's basically how we're teaching machines to play games at a superhuman level. So it's basically learning by trial and error. So what are some real world applications of these neural networks? Well, they're everywhere. I mean, facial recognition on your phone, recommendation systems, suggesting your next favorite song, self-driving cars, navigating traffic, all powered by deep learning. It's also behind those voice assistants that seem to understand us better every day. So I think we should probably switch gears now and talk about generative AI, which is driving a lot of the hype around AI. So what makes it so special? Well, generative AI is all about creating something entirely new, not just analyzing existing data. Imagine you feed a generative AI model a ton of pictures of landscapes. Well, it can actually generate brand new, unique landscapes that look incredibly realistic. So it's not just like copying and pasting. It's actually creating something original based on what it's learned. It's like giving AI a paintbrush and letting it express itself. And the potential impact is huge. McKinsey believes that generative AI could actually lead to a 7% boost in global GDP. Those are some serious numbers. So what are some actual tangible examples of what Gen AI can create? Well, it goes way beyond images. I mean, it can write different kinds of creative content. So, poems, codes, scripts, musical pieces, emails, letters, you name it. It can even synthesize speech that's almost indistinguishable from a human voice. And we're already seeing generative AI used in everything from video game design to drug discovery. It's really revolutionary. And it sounds like it could turn so many industries on their heads. And the investment in generative AI is just through the roof. I mean, in 2023 alone, we saw something like $18 billion poured into generative AI startups. Goldman Sachs is predicting that by 2025, a whopping 40% of the IT budgets of the world's largest companies will be dedicated to AI. So that's a clear sign that this is not a fad, it's a real technological shift. And just to give you another number, enterprise spending on generative AI is expected to jump from about $16 billion in 2023 to a mind-blowing $143 billion in 2027. So it's moving at an incredible pace, very fast. So we've talked about AI, we've talked about ML, we've talked about deep learning, we've talked about Gen AI, but how does all of this actually work in the real world? What are the different types of AI workloads that organizations need to be thinking about. So there are three main types: training, inferencing, and data preprocessing. So training is like teaching an AI model using tons of data. It's like feeding a child thousands of pictures to help them learn to recognize different objects. That's the learning phase where it's, taking in information and building its knowledge. And then you have inferencing, which is where you actually use a trained AI model to make predictions on new data. So it's kind of like testing the child's knowledge by showing them a new picture and asking them to identify the object. So training is the study session and inferencing is the exam. And then finally, there's data pre-processing, which is all about, cleaning and organizing the data before you feed it to the AI. It's kind of like preparing a nice meal for the AI to feast on. The data needs to be, in the right format for the AI to be able to learn effectively. So we've got our three types of AI workloads, but what about, the bottom line for a business? And what's the return on investment for all this AI hype? Is it actually paying off for businesses? It absolutely is. I mean, the average ROI for AI is actually a staggering $350 for every dollar invested. It's driven by real world factors like saving time and money, boosting revenue, making teams more productive. AI is actually translating into tangible business benefits. McKinsey, the consulting firm, even suggests that organizations should be aiming for an average ROI of 50% for their AI initiatives, which might sound ambitious, but it's definitely achievable with the right strategy and execution. So how do organizations actually go about operationalizing AI? Like, how do they go from, cool idea to this is actually working for us? This is where MLOps comes in, or machine learning operations. So it's all about streamlining the entire AI lifecycle from exploring data and building models to deploying and managing those models in a real world setting. It's kind of like a playbook for AI, a set of best practices to ensure projects are successful, similar to DevOps. And MLOps helps teams build and cast models with what are called CI/CD pipelines, which are automated processes that really streamline the development deployment process. Is this something that only big tech companies can really handle? No, not at all. MLOps is becoming increasingly accessible, and it's really essential for any organization that's serious about using or integrating AI tools. It really requires collaboration between data scientists, developers, platform engineers. So it's a real team effort. So let's walk through like a typical AI workflow with what stages are involved. So it typically starts with, data preparation. You're collecting data, cleaning it up, getting it ready for the AI to digest. Then comes training and customization, where you're actually, teaching the AI model and fine tuning it for specific tasks. You're kind of showing the AI the ropes, teaching it to become an expert in a certain area. And once the model is trained, then it's time for deployment and inferencing, where you actually, put it to work making predictions on new data. And throughout this whole process, you're constantly monitoring how the model is performing and tweaking it as needed. So it's a continuous cycle of learning and improvement. It's not just like set it and forget it. The infrastructure changes at each stage potentially. So data prep requires, lots of storage, training needs, massive computing power, inferencing needs, super fast response times, different needs for different phases. Speaking of AI evolution, we've been hearing a lot about these large language models, or LLMs. How do those fit into all of this? So LLMs are a type of deep learning model that are trained on massive amounts of text, and they're incredibly good at understanding and generating human-like text. So they're behind those chatbots like ChatGPT that seem almost eerily human-like. They're behind those super accurate language translation tools. So they're like the wordsmiths of the AI world. And what's really cool is that you can customize them for specific tasks through a process called fine-tuning. So it's like taking general purpose language model and giving it specialized training to become an expert in a particular field. So you could train an LLM to be like a legal expert or a medical specialist. Let's say you're in finance and you need an LLM that understands financial jargon and can analyze market trends. Well, you could fine-tune it on a data set of financial news reports. But what about organizations that don't have those massive data sets for fine-tuning? Is there an alternative? The alternative is called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. So instead of fine-tuning the whole LLM, RAG gives it access to real-time information from private data sets during inference. So it's kind of like giving the LLM access to a library of information that it can consult while it's working. This makes the LLM much more adaptable to changing information, and it reduces the need for constant retraining. This is a really great option for businesses that are dealing with, fast-changing data. So how does RAG and fine-tuning kind of compare? Like, what are the differences? RAG is all about adaptability and efficiency. It can handle new information without needing huge data sets for training, but it doesn't offer the same level of customization as fine-tuning. Fine-tuning, on the other hand, lets you really personalize the LLM, but it requires a lot of data and a lot of computing power. It's a trade-off between agility and precision. The best approach really depends on the specific needs of the organization. Let's jump into some of the challenges that companies actually face when they're trying to implement AI in their operations. So one of the biggest hurdles is data quality. AI models are only as good as the data they're trained on. So if the data is messy or inaccurate or incomplete, the AI's output is going to suffer. So it's kind of like trying to build a house with faulty materials. It's not going to be very sturdy. And then there's the problem of what we call model drift, which is an AI model's accuracy declining over time because the data it was trained on is no longer relevant to current conditions. So it's like a car that needs regular tune-ups to keep running smoothly. And let's not forget about scalability. AI workloads can be incredibly demanding on infrastructure. You need systems that can handle the immense processing power and data storage required for AI to function effectively. It's not just about building a brilliant AI, it's about making sure it can actually perform in the real world. And then there are the more practical challenges of actually integrating AI into existing systems and processes. It's not always a seamless transition, and it often requires significant changes to how companies operate. It's not a walk in the park. So, given all these complexities, what kind of infrastructure do companies actually need to support their AI ambitions? It really depends on the scale and complexity of their projects. Huge companies like Google and Amazon, they need these massive data centers filled with powerful GPUs for training and running their AI. Smaller companies, on the other hand, might be able to leverage cloud-based AI solutions or use pre-trained models that don't require as much computing power. The key is to really assess your specific needs and find the right infrastructure to support your AI journey. And this is where companies like Cisco come in, right? They have newly launched AI pods and services that can work with companies at whatever stage they're in. So what makes them stand out in the AI landscape? Cisco brings a lot to the table. They've got a comprehensive ecosystem of AI solutions. They've got AI-powered security tools that help companies stay ahead of cyber threats. Where does a company even start in their AI journey? How can they even figure out if they're ready to embrace AI? Partners like us at OnStack have a great calculator that can help companies assess what is needed for where they are today. With hundreds of successful AI projects around the globe, we're well positioned to work with any company at any stage of the AI journey. So we've covered a ton of ground. We've talked about the fundamentals of AI, the different types of machine learning, the power of deep learning, the exciting world of generative AI. We've also talked about the challenges of making AI work in the real world, the crucial role of infrastructure. How does AI help organizations, kind of weather the storm? Well, for starters, AI can help predict and prevent disruptions by analyzing data from all sorts of sources. So imagine an AI system that's constantly monitoring network traffic, system logs, even social media feeds. It can actually detect patterns that might indicate a potential attack or an outage and alert IT teams before it happens. So it's like an early warning system flagging potential problems before they turn into, major disasters. AI can also automate incident response, so it allows organizations to react faster and more efficiently when something does go wrong. So it's like having an AI-powered firefighter that can quickly contain a fire and prevent it from spreading. So AI can analyze past incidents. It can identify vulnerabilities and recommend changes to systems and processes to make them more robust. So what are some of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for AI as a whole? What are some of the things that are keeping me up at night when I think about the future of AI? A big one is the potential for algorithmic bias. AI systems are trained on data, and if that data reflects existing biases in society, the AI is going to perpetuate those biases, and this can lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes, which is something we need to be really vigilant about. We also hear a lot about the potential for AI to become too powerful, even posing a threat to humanity. We need to be cautious but not alarmist. I think the key is to approach AI development with a sense of responsibility and foresight. We need to make sure that we're building AI systems that are aligned with human values and that serve humanity's best interests. It's about steering AI in the right direction, ensuring that it enhances our lives rather than, poses a threat. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the exciting opportunities that AI presents. What are some of the things that make me optimistic when I think about the future of AI? One of the most promising areas, I think, is healthcare. Imagine AI systems that can analyze medical images with superhuman accuracy, helping doctors diagnose diseases earlier and more effectively. And AI could also revolutionize drug discovery, helping scientists develop new treatments for diseases that are currently incurable. Another area where I think AI can make a huge difference is education. AI can personalize learning experiences, adapting to each student's unique needs and learning style. Imagine a world where every student has access to a personalized AI tutor that can guide them through their studies, provide feedback, and help them reach their full potential. So it's about making education more engaging, more effective, and more accessible for everyone. And it can also free up teachers from administrative tasks, allowing them to spend more time interacting with students and fostering deeper learning experiences. So AI doesn't replace teachers, it empowers them to be even better. And then let's not forget the potential of AI to improve transportation. Imagine a world where self-driving cars and trucks are commonplace, making transportation safer, more efficient, and more accessible. So fewer accidents, less traffic congestion, and transportation that's available to everyone, regardless of age or ability. That's a really compelling vision. The potential applications of AI are truly limitless, and I'm incredibly excited to see how this technology unfolds in the years to come. At OnStack, that's why we believe in showing and demonstrating use cases where AI can be massively beneficial to people all around the world. We need to create a culture of responsible AI innovation where ethical considerations are baked into the design process from the very beginning, and we need to develop clear guidelines and regulations for AI development, ensuring that AI is developed and deployed in a safe, transparent, and beneficial way. So let's talk about what are some practical steps that they can take to become more AI savvy and prepare for this AI-powered future. I think the most important thing is to stay informed, read articles, listen to podcasts like this one, attend webinars, ask questions, talk to us at OnStack if you're exploring AI use cases for your work or business. For getting, some hands-on experience, there are countless opportunities to experiment with AI. We have some great resources and offer free brainstorming sessions to help you get the most value from AI solutions. We also have powerful case studies, white papers, blog posts, all sorts of information about AI that will help you out.